As much as I would want them to run over the protesters, I think that would cause issues. And also, if you run over the protesters, I don't really care if they do it or not, but I don't think it's necessary. Only because I would want to utilize their bodies for compelled slave labor.
Well, last Friday, right-wing streamer ZACK HOYT, also known online as Asmongold, he made an interesting argument against ICE agents injuring protesters in cities like Chicago and Portland. Don't run them over because then we can't use them for compelled slave labor. That's what he said. Cenk, your initial thoughts to this?
Yeah, I'm sure he said the same thing about the January 6th protesters. I mean, they're protesters, so I don't mind if you run them over and maybe break their legs, as you're gonna see in the video coming up, or maybe kill them. That's no big deal. So what, you're gonna go protest that Trump lost? Of course they should be able to run you over. But hey guys, I'm not sure we should do it, because maybe we should take those Trump fans and use them as slave labor. Now, if a left-winger actually said that and meant it, what do you think the right-wing reaction would be? They would lose their minds. They'd be the angriest people you've ever met. But yet, you're about to see the ass man here tell you the same exact thing about protesters on the other side. Curious what the right-wing reaction is gonna be.
All right, well, this suggestion, right, it kind of came about whenever Hoyt was reacting to videos from independent media reporter Brendan Gutenschwager, who's been documenting some of the protests at Broadview, the Broadview ICE facility. For potential copyright reasons, we can't show you the original video that he's reacting to, but just to give you an idea of what Hoyt was reacting to, the description on the original clip reads, protesters attempt to block a vehicle driven by an individual that displayed a DHS badge from advancing towards the Broadview ICE facility. And with that context, we can now hear from him.
I just wonder if even the military can save a place like Deep Blue Portland, as over in Chicago.
They absolutely can. The way that you do it is you take all of these people, you arrest all of them, you charge them with felonies, you change the federal law so people with felonies can't vote in elections, and then you effectively disenfranchise them out of the voting system. That way, nobody has to deal with them anymore. And if they have a problem with that and they cause issues, then you put them in prison and you force them to work. There you go. Problem solved.
Prison labor is always just an easy go-to solution, isn't it? So remember, it is legal to protest and it is protected in the First Amendment unless Trump decides to take that one away too, which he might. Civil disobedience by itself is not a crime and it can obviously lead to illegal conduct that then results in misdemeanors and felonies. But what Hoyt is suggesting is a little bit extreme. So here's more.
Just put spikes on the vehicles. As much as I would want them to run over the protesters, I think that would cause issues. And also, if you run over the protesters, I don't really care if they do it or not, but I don't think it's necessary. Like if a citizen gets their car surrounded, I think they have the right to drive through the protesters. I do, because it's endangering their life and every person has a right to self-defense and self-preservation. That being said, if let's say you run over their leg, well, then we're gonna have to fix their leg and it costs a lot of money. And then you can't make them work in the prison because their leg could be broken or their arm could be broken. So it causes you to lose money in the long term. So I'm not a fan of that.
Mass amounts
only because I would want to utilize their bodies for compelled slave labor. That's the only reason. It's not like I have a moral obligation against it. Absolutely not.
No one would ever accuse somebody like this from having a moral obligation to anything. But to be clear, hitting protesters on purpose could result in a homicide charge, which then is a felony. Reuters reported back in 2020, a driver who deliberately ran over a protester or any pedestrian could face homicide charges and would need to prove that they reasonably believed that they had no alternative in order to avoid death or serious harm to themselves. So it's funny, I think I mentioned this in the last story. I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe that Kat Abu Ghazali, whenever she was protesting in Chicago against ICE, it was at the Broadview ICE facility. And she says in that News Nation clip that she was trying to prevent someone from getting run over by a vehicle. So like these are real things that are happening. It is totally within the First Amendment right to protest and to be out there. But as I said, Trump just decides what qualifies as a protected freedom here in the United States. He has, whatever he wants, that takes precedent over, 250 years of the Bill of Rights or whatever. So, Cenk, I know you've got more. What do you think?
Yeah, so look, I don't love that tactic of getting in front of cars. I mainly worry about the protesters, because some idiot is gonna run you over. It's just a matter of time. And I look, that people get scared when their car is surrounded. So I don't like people going to their homes. And if you say, hey, Cenk, you're not a good enough activist, and then we like, maybe putting a little fear of God in them or something. It's not for me. I'm the guy for nonviolence, etc. But on the other hand, protests overall, I love. Like, that's the most cherished American right there is. And so, and don't get it twisted. Because somebody is, blocking your way in a car, you don't have the right to run them over or kill them or break their leg or drive forward to, cause harm to them. And no, your life is not in danger, right? Now, on the other hand, if they're shaking the car and you're worried they're gonna topple it, they're gonna break into the car, they smash the windows, okay, then maybe your life's in, but they just blocked it because they're doing a normal protest. No, you don't have to panic and murder them, okay? That's not the only option you have. Okay, now to the heart of this. You remember when Republicans and right-wingers were saying, hey, these Democrats, they don't have enough civility. They have to turn down the temperature. Their rhetoric is what's causing the violence. Now this brother comes along. I don't know who Ass Man is. People say maybe that he's got a following, but I've never heard of him, right? And his co-conspirator Jägermeister or whatever, right? And so, but this guy's talking about, oh yeah, run over protesters. I don't mind it, he said. So you don't mind extreme violence, running over somebody with a car, okay? But you know what, why don't we instead arrest them for exercising one of the most fundamental American rights, freedom of speech. The one, remember, that you guys all pretended you were in favor of? I know some of them meant it, but apparently a lot of them, including Assman and Jägermeister, didn't mean it. They thought, oh, freedom of speech for me, to say that maybe you should be murdered or be made my slave, my freedom of speech, good. And by the way, I wouldn't cancel that. I don't mind him saying the terrible things that he says. Now we know who he is. So, and I'm not afraid of his speech. I'm not afraid that the majority of Americans are gonna look at that and go, oh yeah, well, I think we should, instead of having freedom of speech, if anyone exercises freedom of speech in a way that I don't like politically, we should arrest them, take away all their rights, make sure they can't vote, and then turn them into slaves. No, 98% of Americans are gonna be against that. But Assman thinks that's a great idea. So he's like, oh yeah, I'm for freedom of speech, unless it's left-wingers. How dare they protest our government? Let's take away all their rights. Did you see what he said? Make sure they can't ever vote again. Look, guys, it's a simple standard. Shoe on the other foot. And I've said this a million times on this show. And I usually say in regards to, hey, if you're a Democrat and you're criticizing the right wing, now think about it if the shoe was on the other foot. And I've said it in both directions many, many times. So in this case, if you're a right winger, and if some left winger came out there and said, oh yeah, run over the right wingers that are protesting Biden, run them over with a car. I don't care if you break their leg. Oh, you know what, wait, I have a better idea. I don't mind it. But maybe we turn the right wing in this country into slave labor. We take away their freedom of speech, we take away their voting rights, we arrest them, we ruin their lives, and then turn them into chattel and furniture for us. What do you think your reaction would have been? If you say your reaction would have been like, oh yeah, that makes sense. The Democrats are in charge, Biden's in charge. And if I protest them, I should be turned into a slave. Okay, then at least you're principled. Okay, you want to make up some nonsense excuse why it shouldn't be done to the right, but it should be done to the left? Go ahead, and apparently there are a couple of guys in the country who actually believe that. And I don't know if his followers were like, what an idiot. We said freedom of speech, dumbass, okay? Or if they're like, yeah, we hate freedom of speech now that we're in charge, let's turn them into slaves. I mean, really, I don't know. Are 13 people watching that show? Who would like that kind of monstrously un-American piece of crap like that, who doesn't believe in America at all?
It's very difficult to make sense of their values and morals on that side because they're so, I don't know. I was gonna say that they're inconsistent, but really it's just whatever is good for them is what they like, and then they don't want it to happen. They can't apply something to one side that they don't want to apply to the other side, I think is what I'm trying to say. But it's very confusing because there's no consistency as far as values and morals go, especially on the right. What's more interesting is that they still preach and pretend to be the party of family values, and they like good things, and they're good Christians and everything that entails. And the implication there is that we're good Christian people, so we have good morality and high values, and everyone else does not. That is, the part that goes unsaid. But at the same time, they're saying, I'm okay with protesters who are doing something that they are well within their right to do. I'm okay with them getting run over and then using them as slave labor. We can talk about prison labor if you want. That's a whole conversation, and people feel one way about that. But at the same time, that's not what we're doing here, right? We're just, sowing more and more hate over and over and over again. I don't understand why people are mad at protesters. You have the right to protest, right? If people find you annoying for protesting, then that's one thing, but being annoying is not something that you can outlaw. That is not something that is illegal to be, right? And so whenever we have people who are saying things like this, I don't consume content like this. I can't imagine that Asmongold, whatever his name is, I can't imagine that he is watching this show right now either. But it just doesn't seem helpful. Not that I think he's trying to be helpful, but there has to be some kind of higher purpose to doing work like this, right? You have to care about something a little bit. You have to have some kind of moral basis or just some reason as to why you're doing what you are doing whenever you're sitting there talking about these things. And maybe the shallow answer is that you're doing it because the pay is really good, right? Maybe these people are making so much money doing what they're doing. Maybe they're getting paid by whoever their donors are, thousands of dollars a month, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, from what we've heard from others. And maybe that is all it takes to motivate them in one direction. But at the end of the day, it's been 10 years of this. Aren't you tired of just saying the same thing over and over and over again, sticking to your inane talking points and sowing hate and discord in a country? Wouldn't it just be nicer if we could all just get back to a place of something resembling normalcy? Aren't we tired by now? I am very tired.
Yeah, last 2 quick points here. Yeah, of course he's doing it for the attention. There's now this a cottage industry now, folks, who are look at me, daddy, look at me. I'm saying the dumbest thing on the internet. Okay, congratulations, you must be so proud. But unfortunately, the algorithms also reward that. If you are more extreme, the algorithm likes it more and it rewards it. So we've got a toxic situation on a lot of these platforms. But one quick note I wanted to make, you said, a lot of these people think that they're good Christians. And some of the right wing I challenge, for example, hey, if you're pro-life, why aren't you concerned about the 20,000 kids Israel killed in Gaza? But you know what happened? Then some pro-life people, Tom Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, et cetera, started saying, yeah, wait a minute, I'm not in favor of anybody killing kids. Why are we paying for Israel to kill kids? And I was all right, attaboy, that is, we could disagree on other things, but that is what a good Christian would say, right? Especially if you're pro-life. And obviously there are a lot of good Christians that believe in a variety of things. In this case, I don't know what their religion is, and I don't really care. In fact, I was wondering, wait, are these guys normally pro-Israel? And I don't know that either, because I've never heard of Assman and the Jägermeister. But if they're pro-Israel, then I worry a little bit is this setting up for, if you protest Israel's control of America, no, that's it. You agreed to it. You agreed to protesters can be run over or turned into slaves. Now, and you protested Israel, that's it, slave labor, right? We took away your voting rights. So now if you want to vote against Israel, you're not allowed to. I don't know, I really, really, really don't know. But it doesn't really matter. Does it matter if they do it for Israel or for their own purposes or for Timbuktu? It doesn't matter. Are you an American and do you believe in this country? Because the First Amendment is not unclear. We all have a right to not only speech, not only press, but to actually protest, to ask the government for a redress of our grievances. It's in the First Amendment. So if you don't believe in the right to protest and the right to freedom of speech, you might technically be an American by birth, but as a matter of principles, as a matter of who you are, you don't actually believe in this country. You want a different kind of country that's tyrannical, and you're deeply un-American. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.